let me in.
It's time.
Brought to you by Dark Golan and his 60s music, here's Ace breaking down the symbols in Alice in Wonderland.
You know, I've always been intrigued of the idea that stories create meanings. In books, cartoons, art, or even movies for that matter. They always come from big events, the characters, or even the places. Let's not forget colors, such as blue. We see that with Alice's dress in both the Disney and live action. And of course, the hookah-smoking caterpillar, Absalom. There's nothing specific about the color in the story, but outside of it brings many meanings. You see, blue symbolizes sincerity, calmness, and enthusiasm. And if you connect it with Alice's personality, the shoe really fits! As opposed to the Red Queen, or the Queen of Hearts. She is the most dangerous person in the story. She is psychotic, destructive, quick-tempered, and loud. She gets offended by everything and everyone around her. Even if one is prettier than her, she orders death sentences left and right saying, "Off with their heads!" But why did Lewis Carroll choose the Queen of Hearts? Why not diamonds, clubs, or even spades? The Queen of Hearts symbolizes strength, and a sign that one can overcome obstacles when facing them. Look at Alice. In every scene with the Red Queen, whether the cartoon or the live action, she's brave to not fall and surrender. She saved herself from being captured as a child. When she got older, she slayed the Jabberwocky and ended the reign of the Mad Red Queen. There's a rumor that the fans of Wonderland adventures believe that the Red Queen was inspired by Queen Victoria herself, but Carroll never confirmed it. So, move on to the next one, the insane famous character, the one with the nice hat, the Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter.
Now, between the two different versions, I loved Johnny Depp's role of the character. He presented the Hatter with two different personalities. On one hand, we got Terence Hightop, sweet, optimistic, and silly. A human side to the character. On the other hand, we got the Mad Hatter. He's darker and more sinister, with the Scottish accent and speaking gibberish. And it's because he suffered from mercury poisoning. You notice the result of that with his orange hair. And the mercury came from his hat. Back in the 19th century England, the hats were made with mercury nitrate, part of the process of turning the fur of small animals like rabbits into felts. This resulted in mercury poisoning. The toxic substance used in these hats led people to experience hallucinations, tremors, memory loss, emotional instability, and speech problems. This is all known as Mad Hatter disease or the Mad Hatter syndrome. Connecting to the famous phrase, mad as a hatter, commonly used since the 1800s, way before Alice in Wonderland, to suggest someone who's gone mad, crazy, and got unpredictable behavior. A known example of the hat madness was in Danbury, Connecticut, which was the leading center of hat making back in the 19th century, and the 20th century, of course. They called the Mad Hatter disease as the Danbury Shakes, since A, the city was built as the hat's capital of the world, and B, the shakes are characterized by tremors and slurred speech. This led to banning mercury to use in felt production in the early 1940s.
Mad as a Hatter. You know, being a Mad Hatter had an important part in US history. You see, it all started with Boston Corbett, who's known for shooting down the guy who assassinated President Abraham Lincoln, bad old John Wilkes Booth. He served in the Union Army in the Civil War and was ordered to track down the gunman who killed the president. Mr. Corbett was supposed to capture him alive, not kill him. He didn't follow the orders because his mind wasn't at the right place. He was the first of the Mad Hatters, you see. Corbett was a hat maker himself, way before he killed the big bad Booth. Sweet smell of mercury took a toll on his once innocent sweet mind, and he returned to hat making after becoming a local hero in all of America for avenging Lincoln, for avenging one of the most beloved presidents. And this was not the right move for his sanity. Mad Hatter Corbett ended up in a mental asylum after being caught with a gun threatening people, threatening innocent people, and for what? Mercury controlling him. He wasn't feeding his head. After that little incident, Mr. Corbett went to the asylum before he escaped, and then nowhere to be found. Boston Corbett was probably chasing his white rabbits, and then gone in wonders.
Alright, the history lesson's over. Now let's move on to the final character. The White Rabbits. The White Rabbits. In some cultures, a white rabbit symbolizes love, tranquility, and inner power. But others symbolizes the little creature as a beginning of a new adventure. And it fits for Lewis Carroll's story. Alice would never have gone to Wonderland, slay the Jabberwocky, and setting off to an adventure if she didn't follow the White Rabbit. Following it will put yourself in a wild ride, facing challenges along the way, such as curiosity and wonders. But the goal is to be better than who you were before. Chasing curiosity will lead you to the truth and what you're looking for. It will make you go wonder. Wonder makes you learn. Learning helps you grow and be ahead. Therefore, like the Dormouse said,
Feed your head.
The White Rabbit is the most referenced character in pop culture, specifically music. Like the infamous song by the rock band Jefferson Airplane, White Rabbit. When Grace Slick was a kid, her parents read to her Alice in Wonderland for bedtime stories. And that inspired writing the song as we know. She wrote it in 3 minutes after going on an acid trip to be in the mood for the song. I mean, it's pretty obvious. In the 60s, acid and other drugs were the center of mind expansion, social settings, and art experimentation. Many of us listened to the song, and we loved it. But have you listened to the vocals only? Just by listening to Slick's amazing voice, it's beautiful, yet haunting and creepy. I mean, listen to this part.
One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small.
You hear what I'm saying? Haunting. Here's more to it.
And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice.
Haunting.
Remember what
The Dormouse said.
Remember what the Dormouse said, feed your head. This means to teach yourself, pay attention, and observe your surroundings. Grace Slick's comments resonated with that phrase, where she said that Alice didn't need Prince Charming to be saved in tough places. She kept going and pushed herself to get out of the paradox. You look at Disney female characters like Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Jasmine, Bella, and even Pocahontas. A male protagonist is always involved in the story, but not with Alice. There wasn't even a male lead in the story. Chasing the White Rabbit helps Alice grow into her own person at the end of all this. And in Tim Burton's version, it's exactly what we saw. It's about Alice becoming brave, independent, and empowered in a society where they expect her to behave like them in the Victorian era. What encouraged me to watch Alice in Wonderland in the first place is because of WWE. And yeah, we're going to talk some wrestling here. You see, it all started with Bray Wyatt. Wyatt and his work influenced by Alice in Wonderland first happened in 2019, but in a nightmare tone. You see, Bray Wyatt had his Mr. Rogers persona mixed with the White Rabbit intention in his own show, The Firefly Funhouse, which is kind of a children's program featuring Wyatt's puppets, a witch, a buzzard, a pig, and a rabbit. He can be full of joy, fun, and enthusiastic. And much like Johnny Depp's Mad Hatter, he has a different side to him. When he's angry, he's more sinister and looks at you right through your soul. He believed that he is protected by Wyatt's alter ego, the Fiend. A demonic clown as mad as a hatter whose mission is to either hurt or heal. And he targets those who hurt and wronged Bray Wyatt. But how does this relate to Alice in Wonderland? A lot. In 2020, WrestleMania 36 was the most unique event WWE has done during the dark times of the pandemic. This was when the company decided to be creative and cinematic with 0 fans in attendance. That is where Bray Wyatt took the opportunity to bring his own version of Alice in Wonderland, but it's John Cena in the Firefly Funhouse. Instead of Alice following the White Rabbit, or Curiosity for that matter, John Cena revisited his own career with pressure and expectations he's been given. His career was guided by Bray Wyatt in every stage of his career, from John Cena's debut in WWE to his rise in fame and to the battle between Wyatt and Cena that started back in 2014. Wyatt haunted him with the exact same pressure Cena had when he debuted, making John doubt everything he did, especially how he was supposed to help the young talent and he was supposed to be the next Hulk Hogan in pro wrestling. It was a psychological war for the biggest WWE wrestler of our time, if not all. This battle ended with The Fiend taking over the Funhouse, beating John Cena, and taking him away, having The Fiend as the last one standing. This cinematic match was a psychedelic trip. But how did it lead me to watching Alice in Wonderland in 2022 if the Firefly Funhouse took place in 2020? You see, Bray Wyatt was let go by WWE due to budget cuts in 2021. Around September a year later, the events have been playing the vocals of Grace Slick's White Rabbit playing in arenas for weeks. As it leads to the phrase "feed your head," red lights came on. At the same time, you see QR codes in various places that are linked to minigames and riddles to follow the White Rabbits. This led to the return of Bray Wyatt to WWE at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view on October, with the crowd going ballistic. And having the audience engaged in following the White Rabbit adds more value to his work.
And Bray Wyatt didn't return alone. He's got a friend with him. Someone who guides him and reminds us to revel in what we are. And he wears a hat too. His uncle. Howdy.